It was the kind of heartbreaking twist that only fate, or perhaps soap opera destiny, could deliver, and the Forrester and Logan families will never be the same again. The shocking news that Luna Nozawa suffered an accident behind bars, one that tragically led to the loss of her baby, has sent ripples of anguish and guilt through Los Angeles, leaving everyone reeling from the aftershocks of a tragedy that no one saw coming, but perhaps everyone fears they helped create. Ever since Luna was hauled off to prison following the chaotic chain of events that spiraled out of control, culminating in her being accused and convicted of crimes that many still believe she didn't fully commit, the young woman's spirit had dimmed, her once bright eyes shadowed by isolation, remorse, and the crushing weight of betrayal. Inside those cold walls, stripped of her freedom and haunted by memories of the love she once shared with R.J. Forrester, Luna's strength had been tested in ways few could imagine. And yet, she held on to one thing that gave her hope, the life growing inside her, the precious baby that was a symbol of love, redemption, and the possibility of a new beginning. But hope, it seems, can be a fragile thing in a world built on secrets and revenge. The incident itself unfolded in a blur of chaos that left everyone grasping for answers. Rumors swirl about what exactly happened in that prison corridor. Some say Luna slipped on a wet floor, while others whisper that an altercation with another inmate turned violent. There are even darker murmurs suggesting that perhaps her fall wasn't an accident at all, that someone inside wanted to silence Luna for good before she could reveal something that could shatter reputations outside those walls. Whatever the truth, what's known is this: Luna was rushed to the prison infirmary, pale and unresponsive, and despite the doctor's desperate efforts, the baby could not be saved. In that sterile room, Luna's cries of anguish echoed down the hallways, a haunting reminder that behind the orange jumpsuit and the public shame was still a young woman whose world had just been destroyed. And when word reached R.J. Forrester, his heart broke in ways words could barely describe. The moment he heard, he dropped everything, his work, his pride, even his simmering resentment over how everything had fallen apart between them, and rushed to the prison, desperate to see her, to hold her, to tell her that despite everything, he still loved her. But bureaucracy and heartbreak often conspire to keep lovers apart, and RJ was left staring through the reinforced glass of a visitation window at a woman whose soul seemed shattered, her once vibrant energy extinguished by grief. Katie Logan, who had already vowed to take custody of Luna's baby before the tragedy struck, was among the first to visit RJ after the devastating news. Her face pale and eyes heavy with tears, she told him that some pains simply don't heal with time, that some losses stay etched in the heart forever. For Katie, who had been preparing to step in as the baby's guardian, the miscarriage struck a deeply personal chord. She had been ready to give that child a safe home, to shield them from the fallout of Luna's mistakes and the cruel twists of fate that had landed her in jail. But now, with the child gone, Katie's grief is mixed with guilt that maybe her intervention, her courtroom testimony, or her public defense of Luna had somehow set into motion the chain of events that ended so tragically. Carter tried to reassure her that none of it was her fault, that life's tragedies often come without reason, but Katie couldn't shake the feeling that her choices had consequences she'd never intended. Meanwhile, the Forresters are grappling with their own turmoil. Brooke, who once stood firmly against Luna, now finds herself questioning whether her harsh stance helped drive the young woman to the edge. She had always seen Luna as a dangerous distraction for RJ, a young woman from the outside whose presence in the Forrester world was marked by scandal and uncertainty. But now, seeing RJ so broken, Brooke can't help but wonder if her refusal to accept Luna was a form of punishment the universe had cruelly amplified. Ridge, ever the pragmatist, tries to focus on the facts, pushing for answers about the prison's negligence and demanding a full investigation into what led to Luna's injury. But even he can't fully mask the sorrow etched across his face when he sees his son's pain. No parent should have to watch their child lose everything, Ridge murmured quietly one evening as he watched RJ sitting alone in the Forrester living room, staring at a sonogram photo that now represents a dream that will never come true. The emotional fallout from Luna's miscarriage also extends to Poppy Nozawa, whose guilt is perhaps the most unbearable of all. Ever since Luna's arrest, Poppy has been tormented by the belief that her past choices, her secrets, her relationship with Bill Spencer, and her inability to protect her daughter from the world's judgment had led Luna down this dark road. When she got the call from the warden about the accident, she collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably, whispering Luna's name like a prayer. For Poppy, the news that her grandchild was gone was more than just a loss. It was the death of a chance to rewrite the family's history, to break the cycle of pain that had haunted her and her daughter for years. Bill, standing helpless beside her, tried to offer comfort, but even the mighty dollar Bill Spencer found his words hollow in the face of such profound grief. For the first time in a long time, he found himself questioning his power, his wealth, his ability to fix things. Money could buy influence, legal teams, and even second chances, but it couldn't bring back a lost child or heal a broken mother's heart. In the days following the tragedy, Los Angeles has become a city draped in sorrow. The tabloids are relentless, splashing Luna's name across headlines with words like tragedy in lockup and Forrester love lost. Public sympathy, once in short supply for Luna, has begun to grow as details emerge about the poor conditions inside the prison and the lack of adequate medical attention. Activists are already calling for reform, while Luna's legal team, led by Carter and backed by Bill, is preparing a lawsuit against the state. But for those who loved Luna, no amount of justice or financial settlement will ever fill the void left behind. RJ's friends rally around him, but his grief has consumed him in a way that frightens those closest to him. He spends long hours at the beach, staring out at the waves, replaying memories of Luna's laughter, her smile, the way she'd rest her hand on her belly and whisper to their unborn child about the life they would build together. She was my everything, he confessed to Hope one night, his voice barely above a whisper. And now she's gone in every way that matters. Hope, whose own journey through motherhood has been filled with pain and loss, could only nod, her own tears spilling freely. She reminded RJ that grief doesn't vanish. It evolves, it reshapes you, and in time, it becomes a part of who you are. But for now, RJ doesn't want wisdom or platitudes. He wants Luna back, the life they were supposed to have, and the chance to hold their child just once. Meanwhile, Luna herself remains under medical watch, her mental and emotional state deteriorating rapidly. Doctors worry she may not recover from the trauma, and some fear she's slipping into a deep depression that could turn dangerous. In the dim confines of her cell, Luna sits silently, clutching a small crocheted baby blanket she'd begun making weeks earlier, a project she can no longer bear to finish. Her cellmate says she barely eats, barely sleeps, and when she does speak, it's often to whisper apologies to a baby who'll never hear them. "I'm so sorry," she murmurs again and again. "I should have protected you." The question now haunting everyone is whether Luna can ever find her way back from this darkness. Some believe her only path forward lies in forgiveness, both from others and from herself. Others worry that the system has broken her beyond repair. For RJ, though, there's no giving up. He's made it clear that he intends to fight for Luna's release, vowing to uncover the truth about what really happened that day. "If someone hurt her, I'll find out," he tells Ridge with steely determination. "She's lost enough. I won't let them take her life too." His resolve reignites a long-dormant fire in Ridge, who promises to use every connection, every legal angle, to expose the corruption and negligence behind the tragedy. Meanwhile, Brooke and Taylor find themselves reluctantly united in concern for their children, each recognizing that the sins of their generation continue to ripple through their families in painful and unexpected ways. Elsewhere, whispers begin to circulate that Luna's accident might not have been as random as the prison officials claim. A security guard reportedly saw a confrontation between Luna and another inmate shortly before the fall, and though official statements downplay it, Carter's legal instincts tell him there's more to uncover. If she was attacked, that's not an accident, that's assault, maybe even manslaughter, he tells Bill grimly. Bill, ever the man of action, swears to find out who is responsible, even if it means crossing lines he swore he'd never cross again. Poppy, overhearing this, pleads with him not to make things worse, her voice trembling. "Don't turn this into vengeance," she begs. That's not what Luna would want. But deep down, Bill isn't so sure. He's seen what injustice can do to the innocent, and if someone truly caused Luna to lose her baby, there will be a reckoning. As weeks pass, the pain remains raw, but flickers of resilience begin to emerge. RJ visits Luna whenever he can, refusing to let her fade into despair. In one particularly emotional visit, he presses his hand against the glass, tears streaming down his face, and says, "We'll get through this. I promise you. You're not alone." Luna, silent for a long moment, finally meets his gaze and whispers, "You should hate me." But RJ shakes his head. "Never," he replies. "You and our baby were my heart. And even if they're gone, that love still lives." It's a small moment of connection, but it's enough to remind Luna that somewhere beyond those bars, there's still someone who believes in her, still someone who sees her as more than her mistakes. The miscarriage becomes a haunting symbol of all that has gone wrong between the Forresters, Logans, and Nozawas, a tragedy born not only of circumstance, but of pride, secrets, and misjudgments. And yet, it may also become the catalyst for change. Ridge's push for accountability exposes deep flaws in the prison system, leading to calls for reform. Brooke's guilt drives her to advocate for women's rights behind bars, a cause that gives her new purpose. And RJ, once dismissed as the sheltered golden boy, begins to grow into a man shaped by loss and compassion, determined to honor the memory of the child he'll never meet by becoming someone Luna and their baby would be proud of. Still, for all the light that flickers at the edges, the pain remains profound. In the final scene of this chapter, Luna sits in her cell beneath the soft glow of the overhead light, staring at the faded sonogram photo she keeps hidden beneath her pillow. Her tears fall silently as she whispers a promise to the life she lost. "You'll always be a part of me. I'll make you proud, my angel." And somewhere, in the quiet outside the prison walls, RJ stands beneath the moonlight holding the same sonogram, the wind rustling through the trees as if carrying her words to him. Two broken souls, bound by love and loss, each clinging to hope that one day, somehow, life will give them another chance, not to erase the pain, but to find meaning in it. And as the world of the bold and the beautiful turns, viewers know that this story, this raw, emotional, heartbreaking journey, will not end here. Because in a universe built on love, betrayal, and redemption, even the darkest tragedy can plant the seed of something new, something fragile yet enduring. For Luna and RJ, that something might be the beginning of healing, or perhaps the start of another storm. Either way, the echoes of Luna's accident and the loss that followed will shape every storyline to come, reminding us that even in a world of glamour and deceit, the deepest pain often comes from the most human place of all, the love of a parent and the grief of losing a child before they ever had a chance to live. In the weeks that followed the devastating miscarriage, Luna's name became a rallying cry for those demanding accountability and reform, but for those closest to her, the pain remained an intimate, unhealed wound that no protest or press conference could soothe. Inside her dimly lit cell, Luna's world had shrunk to a fragile rhythm of silence and memories. Each morning began with the same cold metallic clang of the cell door, but inside her mind, she was back in Malibu, standing in the soft glow of morning light, feeling the baby's tiny kicks and dreaming of futures that now would never come to pass. The loss of her child had stripped her not only of motherhood, but of identity. She no longer knew who she was without that heartbeat that once gave her purpose. Even when the prison psychologist tried to speak with her, Luna would sit still, staring ahead with hollow eyes, the silence between them saying far more than words ever could. RJ's visits became the only tether keeping her from slipping completely away. Every time he walked through those prison gates, carrying that flicker of hope in his heart, Luna would feel something stir within her, a faint reminder that she was still loved, still seen, even in this place of endless shadows. He never stopped bringing her letters, folded neatly, filled with sketches of what their baby might have looked like, notes about how he was channeling his grief into design work at Forrester Creations, and promises that he would keep fighting for her release. "I see your strength in every sunrise," he wrote once. "Even in your silence, you're teaching me what real love means." Those words, simple yet sincere, became Luna's lifeline. Some nights, she would unfold those letters under the faint flicker of the overhead light and read them until her tears blurred the ink. Meanwhile, outside the prison walls, the storm of emotions among the Forresters, Logans, and Spencers continued to rage. Brooke struggled privately with her own regrets, replaying every moment she had dismissed Luna as unworthy of her son. The maternal instinct she'd once used to shield RJ had twisted into something painful, a guilt she couldn't confess to anyone but herself. Ridge tried to comfort her, but even he was wrestling with his own frustration. His demands for a full investigation into the accident were met with bureaucratic resistance and endless red tape. The warden's office issued sterile statements about unfortunate circumstances, while prison officials denied any wrongdoing. But Ridge had been around enough cover-ups in his lifetime to know when he was being stonewalled. "Someone's hiding something," he muttered to Carter one night at the Forrester office. "And I won't rest until we know what." Carter nodded grimly, already deep in the paperwork of the impending lawsuit. He had obtained a copy of the incident report and was combing through it line by line when he noticed inconsistencies that made his blood run cold. The timeline didn't add up. Surveillance footage was missing from a crucial 15-minute window, and a nurse's testimony hinted that Luna had been crying moments before her fall, crying after a confrontation with another inmate who had since been transferred to another facility under administrative discretion. Carter knew what that meant: a cover-up. When he brought his suspicions to Bill Spencer, the older man's eyes narrowed with a mixture of rage and determination. "Find out who she was," Bill said through gritted teeth. "Find out who touched her, who hurt her, and I'll handle the rest." But for all his bravado, even Bill couldn't ignore the pain radiating from Poppy, who had barely slept or eaten since the tragedy. Her grief had become a kind of quiet madness. She spent her nights sitting in Luna's childhood room, surrounded by photos, baby clothes, and unopened gifts meant for the grandchild she'd never hold. When Bill came to see her, he found her softly singing lullabies to an empty crib she'd bought months earlier, her voice trembling with sorrow. "She was supposed to be free by now," she whispered. "We were supposed to start over." Bill took her hand gently, his usual arrogance stripped away, replaced by raw humanity. "We will," he said softly, "but not until the people who did this are held accountable." The emotional ripple of the miscarriage also reached Steffi, who had once viewed Luna as a threat to the Forrester legacy. Now, she found herself shaken by the news, especially after witnessing RJ's deterioration. The once vibrant young designer had grown pale, withdrawn and restless, often wandering through Forrester Creations late into the night, sketching compulsively as if trying to draw his way out of grief. Steffi, who knew all too well the pain of losing a child, decided to reach out. One evening, she found RJ sitting in the design office, surrounded by sketches of baby clothes and tiny dresses that would never be worn. "You can't keep doing this to yourself," she said softly. RJ didn't look up. "If I stop, she's really gone," he murmured. Steffi sat beside him, tears welling in her eyes. "She's not gone," she said. "You carry her in every line, every design, every breath you take. You'll always carry her." Her words, though simple, reached him in a way few others could. For the first time, RJ began to see that his grief could be transformed, that maybe he could create something beautiful from his pain. Days later, he approached Ridge with an idea: a new Forrester collection dedicated to lost loved ones, a tribute to Luna and their unborn child. Ridge, though hesitant at first, recognized the healing potential of such a gesture. And so, the Luna line was born, a collection of soft, ethereal designs inspired by hope, fragility, and rebirth. When the line was unveiled weeks later, models floated down the runway in flowing silks and gentle pastels, each piece symbolizing both mourning and transcendence. The audience was moved to tears, and even the toughest critics praised RJ's work as his most emotionally raw and artistically profound. For a moment, Luna's spirit filled the room, and everyone could feel her presence, like a whisper carried on a soft wind. Back in prison, Luna saw a photo from the show in a newspaper, and for the first time in months, she smiled. The image of RJ standing on the runway, holding a single white rose, seemed to bridge the distance between them. She traced the picture with trembling fingers and whispered, "You did it." That night, she finally slept without nightmares. The next morning, her therapist noticed the shift in her demeanor, a faint light returning to her eyes. Healing wouldn't come overnight, but it had begun. Still, the question of what truly happened in that prison corridor loomed like a dark cloud. Carter's investigation uncovered that the inmate Luna had argued with had connections to a powerful figure who might have wanted to silence Luna permanently. Someone feared what she knew. Something about the night that landed her in prison in the first place. The miscarriage, then, might have been the tragic consequence of a much larger secret. As these threads begin to unravel, fans can sense that this storyline is far from over. Justice for Luna isn't just about clearing her name, it's about exposing the rot within the system that destroyed her life. And as RJ prepares to confront the truth, the stage is set for an explosive revelation that could change everything for the Forresters, the Logans, and the Spencers once again. Yet amid the heartbreak, one truth remains. Luna and RJ's love, though scarred by loss, has proven unbreakable. Even behind prison walls, even through the shadows of grief, their bond endures. Because in the end, the bold and the beautiful isn't just about glamour or betrayal. It's about the resilience of the human heart, the power of love to endure the unendurable, and the hope that even in tragedy, something beautiful can be born again.